Japan says no more breweries, so U.S. breweries are stepping in to fill the void. Sell the cellar? Sign the pledge? Just relax. The choice is yours. Climate change has raised the level of alcohol levels, but the numbers don't tell you really how a wine tastes, and they also don't really tell you what the alcohol level is. And let's discuss the California wine crisis just one more time. I promise. Then we're done. Maybe till next week. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, hello and welcome to episode 69 of This Week Uncorked for November 10th, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey, which is your number one source for corkage fees, winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and oh, so much more. Let's get right on into this week's wine news. Bureaucracies. So Wine Enthusiast has got a great piece that outlines how Japan's outdated sake laws are inadvertently fueling a sake boom here in the United States. Turns out you basically can't have any more, there's no more sake licenses to ferment your rice wine and make it. And home brewing's been banned since 1899. Say it isn't so. You can do anything you want over in the United States, so American brewers are free to go, and they are going. And they are building, basically making sake over here. And some of it evidently is pretty decent. From the article, in an unexpected twist, American breweries are now shipping sake to Japan, the very country where the drink was born over a millennium ago, and where tradition has long defined how it is brewed and consumed. The U.S. is now home to around 30 sake breweries, which is more than any other country besides Japan. Some of these producers are former craft beer brewers who kind of shifted their focus to rice-based fermentation. Others are Japanese nationals who moved abroad specifically to launch breweries, because in Japan, starting a new sake brewery is virtually impossible. Well, there you go. Yet another story about, hey, you could have jobs over there, all kinds of stuff. But no, we got protectionism and all kinds of issues. So anyway, the next great sake you try might be from Petaluma. Who knows? All right, moving on with the news. And we've got a couple of articles from over at Decanter. Andrew Jefford, first one is he's tackling this whole, is alcohol good for you? Is it bad for you? And, he kind of gets into the health and statistics and the psychological science. And he's arguing that while alcohol does carry risks, moderate drinking also delivers pleasure, community, and aesthetic joy. His view is that the cellar is a companion for life. Yes, your companion for life, not the enemy, so don't sell the cellar. So from the article, surprisingly, Professor Stockwell, who he quotes a lot in this, says that low risk is a tiny risk. This is the alcohol. So his demolition of the apparent health benefits of moderate drinking, which he does, springs from statistical insights he calls the abstainer bias problem. Those who drink moderately have better health outcomes as abstainers, not because they are drinking a little red wine every day, but because they are healthier people. Moderate alcohol consumption, Decanter readers should note, is not a cause of good health. It is a sign of good health. The older you get, the truer it is. Only the singularly fit and robust, he says, are still moderate drinkers at age 80. Nothing in excess. One of the three famous maxims inscribed on the entrance to the temple of Apollo in Delphi at least 2,500 years ago. Make it your drinking watchword. Well, there you have it. I couldn't agree more. But then we go right on into yet another story where he's talking about it's time to rethink the alcohol levels in alcohol in wine. And we've talked about this before. Low alcohol, high alcohol wines, alcohol levels have gone up as there's been global warming. The sugar levels go up. Yeast eats sugar, produces more alcohol. So the higher the sugar level in the grape, the higher the alcohol level is going to be. Because basically the yeast just eats it until all the sugar is gone, then it dies. Or it eats it until it gets to be it used to be 16 somewhere in there. And then it would die because the alcohol was so high it killed it. But then we made yeast that could eat it higher and even get you into 17%. But that's another story. But one of the bigger problems is that you really don't know what the real alcohol is in the bottle because of the tolerances. In the US, you've got 1.5% or 1%. It depends on where you are. So from the article, wines of more than 5.5% imported to the UK have a tolerance of up to 1% ABV each way, whereas in the EU, the tolerance is only 0.5%. Sparkling and Australian wines accepted. And in the US and Australia, the tolerance is 1.5%, reduced to 1% for wines above 14% ABV in the US. So you just don't know what you're getting at all. Also, he goes on and he drops a really interesting chart in here where he talks about, the rising alcohol levels in the 60s, 12.6%. And by the time you get to the mid-2000s, you're at 15.6%. This is at the Legends of Napa tasting. And basically, all the wines that were there between 1966 and 2010, they looked at what the average alcohol level was in them. And that's kind of what they came up with. So interesting. I would say, the levels are going up. So, you have to have less in your glass anyway. Or, drink wines that basically are fermented, picked a little younger, don't have the high sugar levels. Mathiasen makes an amazing cab that comes in at 12, 13%, just like the old days. So you can find them if you look for them. All right, and moving on, California wine industry in crisis. We've talked about this a million times. And basically the Wall Street Journal was reporting on it this time. So they finally kind of got around to it, and they're talking about, man, you got the falling domestic demand, you got shifting drinking habits, you've got tariffs, you've got Canada, you've got nobody buying bulk grapes anymore, purchases are being slashed. But the biggest issue, of course, is that people are drinking less. And if you look at this chart that we're putting up on the screen, it's really interesting because, yes, they're drinking less, but it seems like it's just kind of how the pendulum goes. If you look at the late 30s, they were drinking about what they are now. But then it went up significantly by the time you got to the late 40s. Then it was really, really down in the late 50s. Then it was really, really high in the early 80s. Then it was really, really down in the early 90s. And then it kind of jumped all over the place, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and now we're at a down. Anyway, yes, we're kind of at a 30-year low, but you could also say, just a few years ago, we were almost at a 30-year high. So anyway, it comes and it goes. And so I expect this graph to bounce back up and shoot up and to the right next time we look at it somewhere in 2027. Anyway, and with that, let's head on over to our wine and winery of the week. All right, we are heading over to Domaine La Roche over in Beaujolais, France. Man, what a fun little winery this is. 5 stars, scenic views. Have to have a reservation because it's Matthew all by himself, running around, pretty much doing everything around there. Price range, 10 to 15 euros. He is keeping the tradition, his family tradition going, basically 6 generations of winemakers. You are not going to get a more heartfelt tour. You are not going to get a more heartfelt tasting. Every single aspect of it is just fun and really, really, really well done. So we had a fabulous time. On tip of the hat. Hard to find. We'll put directions as to who you can reach out to get out there. But if you're in Beaujolais, stop by. He's a growing group of people. They're actually trying to get another appellation made out of the region that they're in. And they are doing some really, really interesting things. So I would drop by and say hi to Matthew over at Domaine de la Roche in Beaujolais. And then the wine of the week is going to be the Domaine de la Roche La Croix Blanche 2020. This was a Gamay. It was killer old vine, 94 points, $30. How can you afford that? Exceptional, just really exceptional. Kind of got a little lavender, a little granite. Man, I don't know. This was a great wine. We've got a couple cases coming, but they haven't arrived yet. But when they do, I'll verify what I saw there, and hopefully hopefully it tastes the same. And with that, let's move on to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. There's a little French place in Paris, La Scène Thélème. They got a star. Everybody in Europe has a star. Everybody's got a Michelin star. I don't even understand it. Anyway, pretty expensive. Food was okay. As everything, it's going to be a tasting menu. I want to say this one was 8 courses. Good course, bad course, good course, bad course, good course, bad course, decent pairing. Give it a shot. If you're in the area, you can give it a try. Maybe you'll have a different experience. I will say it's a lovely little place. The service was great. But, food was hit or miss that night. So there you go. Very rare. It's not like outstanding, exceptional. This is one of those times like, what can I say? All right. And with that, rather depressing episode of This Week on Cork. I hope I made it fun in some way. Anyway, we're going to wrap this show up. Until next week, everybody, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on your favorite social media application, and, be sure to check out that video below there. It's our interview with Remy Jean from Chateau Le Neuf, and worth checking out. All right, everybody, thanks again. Until next week, cheers.